I don't know if this is a compliment, but this motorbike really suits my riding style. Why? I'll tell you in this video. Kawasaki Z900 SE, the performance version of Kawasaki's popular naked bike, here with us on the 1000 PS HOTLAP test track in Bad Fischau, basically the supermoto circuit where naked bikes and superbikes also have to show what they can do. So why these rather strange opening words? Well, it's because the Kawasaki Z900 SE matches my conservative riding style. Conservative in the sense that I can't do elbow down, I don't want to do elbow down, and I'll never again be riding elbow down. I've got a saddle up there where I sit on top. This is not a gymnastics bar, and I sit there comfortably, steering with the handlebar, and I want the motorbike to flow nicely with me through the bend. And at some point, the foot pegs start scraping. Yes, that's nice when it happens. And then sometimes if I get too aggressive on the throttle, the rear tire slips a little, and if I brake too hard in the braking zone, the ABS cuts in and I just carry straight on. And that is exactly how I imagine it when I want to push to the limit, folks. Because earlier I was riding the Street Fighter 5 4S, the 210, the Panigale, and so on, all more high-end, more expensive, sportier motorbikes, but I couldn't really make use of their potential. And this one here I could take closer to the limit because it gives you that strong sense of trust. And that confidence you have in this motorbike makes sure you can use its potential, which is by no means small. You still get a brilliant chassis and a cracking engine. Critics always say it's a bit heavy, a bit of an iron pig. Well, you don't get a low-budget twin-cylinder here. Instead, you've still got a fat Japanese four-cylinder. And on this tight 1000 PS HOTLAP circuit, that gave me the advantage of being incredibly easy to control in every situation, braking in, powering out, which means I could quite early on find myself in a position where I could open the throttle, simply because it's so easy to dose and because I have so much trust that opening it is indeed a good idea. I've already mentioned the bottleneck issues. At some point, ground clearance becomes limited. For me, that happened when I pushed hard in the really tight hairpins, but also in the ones where I was going well, hanging off nicely, and then at some point, the ground clearance just isn't as generous as on the more high-performance power nakeds. Those give you slightly higher foot peg positions, but then you lose that relaxed seating, because here you have a comfy, relaxed riding position where I could easily enjoy a pleasant day's touring, and despite the sportiness, I still feel wonderfully comfortable. What's the second bottleneck? That's the ABS in the braking zone. When you're riding dynamically, riding a bit hectically, with a lot of movement, I can imagine that with a really aggressive ride down the Stelvio Pass, it could also reach its limits. Because if you keep throwing in one hectic, hard braking maneuver after another, then after 3-4 laps, I found myself in the situation where the ABS opened up and I basically ran wide into the corner. That's something that doesn't happen on the even more expensive power naked bikes. But of course, they're also fitted with better tires and you've got, I don't know, another 10,000 euros more in costs. Those are the limits. Clearly, the bike is being used outside of its intended purpose here. Clearly, we're doing motorsport in a very dynamic environment and it has to manage with road wheels. But that's just ruthless and that's the way it is and that's how it holds its ground here. What else is there to say? I find that the upper body position is really excellent. It's relaxed, but it still makes it easy to use your vision technique properly and always get the bike into a dynamic position. Then there are the stock tires, the Sportmax Q5A. I'd suggest switching to something else. Dunlop has sportier tires, and I think that would do the bike good. Because from the feeling, this is a motorbike that's pleasant to ride, with good handling, but it's more on the stable side. And if you give it a bit more handling, especially in turn-in behavior into the corner, you might get even more dynamism if you go for a more aggressive tire. I don't think it would make the bike nervous. I think it would suit it well. So that's my recommendation if you're fans of good handling, fit sportier tires than these. I also noticed here on the HOTLAP circuit that the tires are more on the everyday side. That's my assessment. I'm curious. By now we've already ridden over 120 motorbikes, so how does this one position itself compared with its predecessor? Compared with other naked bikes in the same performance class? But also compared with the power nakeds that are oversized? Can it score points there with its harmonious, accessible character, or will it be crushed into the asphalt by motorbikes that cost twice as much? The answer comes now in the ruthless HOTLAP table.